now and even more in the very near future. And then I just want to briefly go through, some of the things that we did do this past year. It was a year of transition, obviously, going from Meritage being in control of everything to us kind of taking control of everything to the best of our ability and trying to get things organized. We started with a bunch of stuff that needed to be like punch listed with Meritage and spent a good amount of time with that. And I think they only finished that probably really in like March when they finally finished doing all the sidewalk repairs and some of the other stuff at one of the cul-de-sacs. So, I think we did get a lot of stuff out of them for using, we had some leverage with a permit that they needed to transfer over to us, and we were able to leverage that to get them to do stuff they probably should have done anyway, but we know how it goes. It probably would have never gotten done had we not had some leverage. So we were able to do that. We put a lot of time into that. They also put a few flowers in the front, replaced some dead shrubs or whatever in the front entranceway that they probably didn't have to do, but we got them to do that. And then, the other big thing was obviously the transition to the new landscape company. We put out a lot of feelers for bids, invitations to bids. Really didn't get much response. We have and we'll talk about this more later, but a fairly small community. I think for a lot of these landscapers, they are looking for like 300-400 houses. And we have 103 houses. We only got like 3 bids. One of them, when we looked into it, had been a company that got fired from a couple of recent communities, and then the other one was Brightview, which was like $40,000 more than what DTE came in as, and DTE that has a lot of communities that looked good, like in the Naples area. We looked at their websites, made calls to people from those communities, and we got good references. So we did make that transition. It was the most economical. And they had good references, and there weren't a lot of alternatives in the ballpark. So there was that, and obviously just transitioning over to trying to get some kind of system in place to share information with the community, keep people abreast of what's going on. At the same time, trying to make sure that Real Manage, now previously Evergreen, kind of does that, because the people on the board are volunteers. We all have full-time jobs, and we really rely on Evergreen, Real Manage to do their job of property manager, to get the information out and to do things that need to be done. So as much as I'd love to be the initial point of contact on stuff, I just don't have the time to do that, and I don't think anyone on the board really does have the ability in their schedule to be the initial point of contact. So, we try and have these guys be the contact, and then we can serve as a backup if something really is not getting addressed. We want to get involved to make sure that Evergreen Real Manage is doing their job of managing the property. And I think, they have been doing that. There has been some glitches over the last month or two with just the transition of their software and stuff. And their email address has changed and their phone number has changed. So that should be, it should be out on the Facebook page, and in the recent emails from Real Manage, they should have the updated contact information for themselves, an email, phone number, and then also the contact or the ticket system for Down to Earth should also be there as well. So all that stuff should be available, and hopefully, we can continue to improve everything that we're doing. My goal has always been to maintain the property values of our community. We're all there. We want it to look nice. We want to be able to sell our house at some point in the future and not have it be, a bad area. We want to be able to get our money back out. And, to me, that means not having the HOA fees be too high, because that will scare people off if we want to sell our house. at the same time, we want to get as much as we possibly can for the money that we're spending. Um, and, related to that, I think it is important to have the community do at least a minimum of the landscaping because if you drive through Lake Timber, if you drive through Lehigh Acres, I mean, it's like you can have a beautiful manicured lawn directly next to a place that's growing wild. And, no one wants to be, at least I don't think most people want to be living next to a place where, the neighbor is not doing anything to maintain their yard. So there are definitely problems with the landscaping that we're all aware of and we've been working on. But I know some people are in favor of like just having everybody do it on their own, and I'm totally opposed to that because it would be more expensive and we would not have a bare minimum of upkeep. So we can get more into that later, but that's kind of where I am on that part of it. So with that as kind of like a background, Jeff, I don't know if you had any comments you want to make. Unfortunately, Jeff Lewin, who has served as our vice president over the last year, has a work obligation and is not able to be here in person. But Jeff, if you have any comments you want to make, before I open it up to the floor, certainly have time for that.
I think he's muted. I think you're muted, Jeff. There we go.
Thanks. I'll be brief. I think, you should know that, we've taken your concerns seriously about the landscape company that started out like a ball of fire and then they fizzled out. We've had a number of issues. We've been very direct with them. And we've had a couple of walkthroughs with them. Joe has spoken with the regional VP for operations, and we've conveyed our concerns. We don't want to, we don't want to cut off our nose to spite our face here. We're not going down the road of terminating a contract right now, but I think DTE understands that they need to perform in compliance with the contractual arrangement that we have with them. Hence, there was an email that went out. Brian sent that out. I think it was today, to all residents about, when the pruning is going to take place, soft edging, hard edging, a crew leader that's going to be out and inspecting the premises after work is done to make sure that it's done properly and that we don't have to be walking around here finding things. So we do take your concerns seriously. I think Joe was pretty clear, that we're not going to answer complaints on Facebook. We have a portal and we expect that portal is going to be used for work orders. If there's an issue with it, then, Brian can help you through it. But that's our formal documentation of issues, and it's the best way. It's the most efficient way of getting work done. That way we have a document trail that a work order was submitted and we can follow up on it. But that's like 3/4 of what you're paying for is landscaping. So we want to be responsive. We want to be timely with you, and we're all dedicated to that. That's all I have, Joe.
Thanks, Jeff. So with that, are there any comments from residents that would like to be made?
The landscaper, they only come on Mondays, correct?
Well, they were there today doing some adjusting of the sprinklers. But generally they're there on Mondays. If it's raining on Monday, they might do it on a Tuesday or something. Yeah.
So over a contract, they only would come on Mondays to get it done.
Generally, yeah, generally Mondays. But I mean, if I think I saw them there Tuesday or Wednesday driving around. Yeah, but principally, definitely it's Monday, because that's just the schedule. I mean, it's not like they're obligated to be there only on Monday, but that's generally what they do, weather permitting. If it rains on a Monday, they may be Tuesday or Wednesday or something, but generally we can expect them on Mondays. And
I see There are some of our neighbors that are not really watering the lawns. They've gone away for the winter time and stuff like that. How are we addressing that? Because you can see that the lawns are,
Yeah, there's a number of lawns, like 12, 13 of them that we have a list of lawns where it's like, to me, it looks like they're so far gone that they're not coming back. Generally it's a small patch in the front yard. So we've been back and forth with Down to Earth over the last week.
Yeah.
And most recently over the last week, but we had them initially go out like 3 weeks ago and we had a list of, these are the ones that are burned. Then they went and checked the sprinkler systems on those lawns, and then they came back and they said, like 4 of them had issues with their sprinklers where they were not covering the area. So they're working to get quotes to them about that. There's also issues with what they've done recently is this was in an email that Brian sent yesterday, but what's happened is they were notified by Babcock Ranch that everybody was basically watering their lawns at the same time, and the water pressure was too low. If the water pressure is too low, there's going to be a lot of areas that don't get hit with the sprinkler. So they came back out partly last week, partly today, and they're resetting the timers so that not everybody's going off at the same time of day, to try and address what Babcock Ranch has told us, like, you've got to do it in these times. Somebody else is going to do it during different times, and so that they're not all doing them. There's a recommended times, like if you go to the county website, they recommend you water at a certain time. If you followed that, everybody in Babcock Ranch would be watering at the same time, and there'd be no water pressure for that irrigation water. So they're not going to follow the county recommendations. They've divided it up, and various communities are supposed to be at different times. So that's what they're trying to do, so that you're going to get better water coverage. That was, communicated in an email that Brian sent out yesterday, but, we just learned about that last week. So, and I think that, so that may explain part of it, but
what about, individuals that are just not watering the lawn where it's just dead? And I can see from my backyard, if there's somebody awful close, the sprinkler hasn't gone on for weeks, months.
you know
So I'm
which,
watering my lawn.
yeah.
I'm watering, the water goes to the lowest.
Do you know what address it is? Because there's some people that opted for managing their own sprinkler system. I'm just,
Well, I'm 17,929. Person to the, facing the street, person to the left,
you're 17 what?
929,
Okay. Kessler?
right?
Okay. So you manage your own sprinkler.
Yeah.
Okay.
Goes on 3 times a week.
So the next one, the person next to you would be Hall or Weir? Either of those people? 17,899, manages their
Well,
own.
Ron's on one side and Mary Ann's on the other.
Weir, WEHR is 17,935.
Yeah, I guess that would, I guess that would be it.
So
Mhm.
they manage their own sprinkler. So, I mean, they're just not watering their backyard.
It's dead.
Okay.
It's really bad.
That's
The
something,
issue I have though is because they're not watering the water, I'm sprinkling my lawn, but. the
Yeah.
water is getting
I mean,
sucked up.
yeah, so this is, we'll have to talk about it. I don't know the answer. I mean, everybody has an obligation to maintain their own lawn to keep it looking right, you know what I mean? So if you let your lawn burn up, or if you pull up all the grass, you can't do that. I don't know the exact remedies because it hasn't really come up. Usually it's an issue with the sprinklers not working right or something. It's not like they're intentionally not watering it. So
Perhaps the suggestion is writing a letter.
yeah, I mean, that would be,
Yeah, well, those, Brian's on site, on Wednesdays generally. And, we're asking that those, that all properties be looked at. And if we see that, somebody's not watering their lawn, then they get a warning letter. And, they're told that they need to water their lawn. And then if they don't respond, as Joe has pointed out, I'm not sure exactly what our remedies are. James may be able to chime in.
yeah, I mean, hopefully we never get to that point, but we can definitely start with a letter to them So if Brian, if you could put that on the to-do list.
Yes,
And
If we're to get
it's a violation letter.
correct.
Yeah, if we were to progress to the matter, keep in mind, you're a homeowners association, this is an owner lot. If it progressed to the point where there was just blatant disregard and nothing was being done about the situation, the association through the appropriate legal means could effectively have the work done on the owner's behalf.
And then
give
bill
the owner back. But I would be willing to bet that this is likely something that could be addressed just with
Yeah,
self-help.
I think so, because, you know, the remedy is do the work and then bill them. And that's a legitimate bill, but, you know, I think, you know, we get the cart before the horse. Let's address it through a violation letter first.
Absolutely.
So thank you, Steve. Great. Thank you. Yeah. So yeah, everybody's got an obligation to maintain their property in appropriate condition. So we will do our best to enforce that and start with that letter. Any other comments or questions?
Joe, I'm gonna have to drop off in the next few minutes, so I don't know where we're at with the.
Okay. Yeah,
whether
maybe we
can-
should.
Can we go with the ARC stuff and then I'll drop off.
The only thing we have to do is just
Yeah, we need to-
nominate people for the various positions on the board, right? That's a board meeting.
That's correct, and that's in the organizational meeting. If we can right now, just sticking by the agendas, I will entertain a motion to adjourn the annual membership meeting.
I move to adjourn.
We have a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? 15 years, I've never had anybody say yes. We're hereby adjourned at 6:27 PM. And as such, let's please now call the Board of Directors organizational meeting to order at 6:27 PM. I will confirm with all three directors present. We do in fact have a quorum. However, one of the directors is not sitting at the director's table. Just kidding. If you would please join us up front.
There.
Notice was provided in tandem with the annual membership meeting, fulfilling all requirements. Adoption of minutes, that would be minutes of the prior Board of Directors meeting. The Board of Directors meeting, those could be ratified.
Yeah, we'll
That would
defer
be a
right
preference.
now.
Thank you, okay. Appointment, excuse me, we don't have any directors to appoint as we have a full complement. However, organization of officers, in accordance with the state and your bylaws, you need to have a president, vice president, secretary, and treasurer, the only one of whom may not hold two offices being the association president.
I would nominate Jeff to be the vice president.
I don't want to second my own.
Okay,
You've been seconded.
you've been seconded.
Okay.
Unanimous. And just as a point of clarification, the appointment and election of officers is strictly of the board and not of the membership. On the board, puts them on the board, so to speak, and the board governs their offices amongst themselves. Okay,
I would nominate Deborah Pennington for secretary and treasurer.
Second.
Aye.
I will nominate Joe Busher for the position of president of the Crescent Grove HOA.
and so carried. We have a full complement, and even if the folks who were nominated for their position did vote against it, they would have been outnumbered.
No, I didn't vote against anybody. Okay, I have to drop off. I apologize.
Okay, Jeff.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, so long.
You're welcome.
We have any other formal business on
There is no other formal business on the agenda for discussion.
Okay.
Sans establishment of the next meeting date.
Okay. Why don't we just, since Jeff's not on, we can do that by email. And I would move to adjourn and then we can stay and have an informal discussion with any issues anyone wants to talk about. I can give you some, information. You guys kind of get connected so she can get on the email list and everything. So with that, I would move to adjourn.
All right. We have a second. We are hereby adjourned at 6:30 PM.
So is there anything anyone else would like to talk about? Any other issues?
I have a question. Do
Yeah.
you know when the sprinklers run on that common area over by us? I think they were off for a long time, but I think now they occasionally run, but do you know when?
I don't know, but I can,
I guess TT is the one that sets those.
yeah,
Correct, yes. And it was the little area behind, you're closer to the lake and heading towards that mailbox was struggling a little bit.
So that- I didn't know why. We never contacted anybody about why we weren't on that list, because we heard about the list down the road. But there's that one spot, you can see it's right under the street light, but I don't think there is a sprinkler that hits that. We're gonna put a work order in, but
okay.
I was also just wanting. to-
That's not your property, right? It's the common area? Okay,
Right. And I know we have some heads on IRA now that fence is up, so it's really clarified where our line is.
what's your street address?
7, 4. 7, 9.
Okay, we'll just have them, we'll ask them what's going on there and check
Yeah,
is there.
I think
sprinkler?
originally our sprinkler was watering here, but it's not ours to water.
Okay,
Mm. So it's the corner going around that corner there struggling a little bit? Okay,
you wanna email
Yeah.
Sean about that?
for sure. Yep, I'll follow up on that.
Yeah,
Just out of curiosity, is the new system working for everyone else? Because my payment bounced back. Sufficient funds, but it never hit my account. I called my bank and they never tried to process it, and then they charged me $25.
If
So
I'm
I
from,
told them I wouldn't pay $25. I was gonna ask for proof that they actually had paid.
hmm,
So I didn't know if anybody else, if there's any other issues.
I did see a communication that payments wouldn't process until a certain date. Not,
My friend,
I thought it was July 1st that,
So, is this for ACH payments? I apologize. I was reading something.
I believe so.
Bank check, the e-check.
Okay.
And then it said it took it. And I know I did it wrong the first time because my numbers didn't match and it says it didn't match. So I matched
Yeah.
it up and it said some codes. So I know I put the right number in.
The correct route.
And it said, yes, it took it and gave me credit. And then 3 days later, I bounced back saying insufficient funds, but it never hit my bank.
Let me
I
take a
would've
look
seen
at something really quick. Your last name?
Peacock. So I've since paid it with a credit card and that went through and I haven't seen anything. I actually saw it on my credit card. So
Hmm,
but you wanna be set up so it just does it,
no,
whatever.
I lost the check things. I want to write a check because I don't want to pay convenience fee. It's ridiculous. It might be $15. But I'm just gonna have to download something and mail a check in from now on. But I wanted to make sure it's paid on time, so I just threw it in.
Oh, okay.
But I just wondered if anybody else had issues. I'm also not paying $25 when I don't have, there were funds there.
I did mail a check and that took them a long time to cash.
Let me see.
Not bad.
Louise, you wanna comment? Electronic funds?
Ours went through.
I did, all right,
I
then.
didn't. pay
Okay.
anything.
Maybe it was a wrong number or something, but it didn't hit my account. And it didn't say no account. It said insufficient funds.
hmm,
My money was there, so I don't know.
No.
Yeah, I'm just looking to see if it shows me.
And I put a note back in, so we don't have to take up time today, but I just wondered if anybody else had issues, if it was a big deal. So you
okay.
can check out it later and someone can get back to me via email because I put a note back in the system.
I'll let you know, Brian, and we'll
Okay.
communicate accordingly.
Yeah, sounds good. Absolutely.
When is the contract up for you?
It's a 3-year contract, so we're basically, we're
20.
probably about 9 months into it, so, yeah, I mean, which is, it's good and bad, I mean, it's good if they do their job, it's bad if they don't. It's good because we're kind of locked in to a price,
Right.
which is why we did it as a 3-year contract, because, I mean, Brightview went up year over year, like $40,000. So we're kind of locked in at a price which, goes up. They have a COLA clause in there but it's maximum of like 3%, not $40,000, so. Yeah, so, I don't know what else, to say, I think our budget basically is about $200,000, and we're spending about $160,000 on the, landscaping. And if you divide that up, it's about $1,600 per lot for the landscaping. And that $1,600 also includes what each lot owner is paying to get the common area stuff done. So, if you took off $400 contribution per lot, that's like $1,200 a year each lot is paying to get just their lot done. And
Yeah.
there's no way you're gonna ever get anybody to come to your house for $100 a
We're a
month.
small community, so we're tied. It's what we can do. 103 homes going to generate so much revenue.
Yeah, I mean, but, it's like, I mean, for folks that want to just do it on their own, you're never gonna get somebody to come out to your house 42 times a year for $1,200. It's not gonna happen when they do the cutting, pruning, edging, fertilizing. And I know it's not perfect, but even for imperfect, I mean, you're not gonna get them for $1,200. So we're kind of getting a deal with these guys, and the rest of the budget is going to about $15,000 for these guys, Real Manage per year, which is I think a bargain because they do all of the billing. They're here whenever we need them. They do a good job. And then, we got these lights that we're getting taken to the cleaners for $800 a month for 20 years. That was the Meritage parting gift to us, that they signed this contract that, I have taken a look at as a lawyer, and Kyle has taken a look at as a lawyer, and basically there's no way to get out of this contract. So we have $800 a month for the next 20 years to pay for the lights that we're leasing from them.
From Meritage?
No, from some company that Meritage, it's probably the brother-in-law of somebody at Meritage, I mean, you could buy the lights for $800 a piece. And we're doing that 12 times a year, so I don't.
Will Crescent Lakes be the same HOA? Are they,
They are the same. Yep, they are the same
Maybe
management
when
company.
they're getting finished, that would give us in 3 years some leverage if they do Crescent Lakes and Crescent Grove together, landscape
Yeah.
wise.
If we could get them,
It's much bigger.
we might be able to like join forces with them to
Yes.
kind of
Yeah.
negotiate something.
They're built up, yeah.
The landscaping over there, I guess, is not too good. Who do they have? Juniper
They have
Landscape.
landscape.
Landscape Pros.
How many homes in the Crescent Lake?
There's at least 160 moved in right now, but it should be a lot bigger. 300 some yeah. Okay, yeah.
They're not
So-
at 50%.
I don't think so. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I've been trying to, let people know about Down to Earth, because I think if we can get them to work in other areas here, well, just by them being more present in the community overall, it would help us, because if we have a problem, they can just send the guy while they're working over there, they can just send a guy and do a little thing over here. So, I mean, and overall, I know they're not great, they're not perfect, but they're still, I think, as good or better than what we were getting with Brightview.
But I think it's a small one.
What's that?
Headwater Shores is very small like us too. They might be running in, they're getting close to turnover.
Filling up? Yeah,
Mm.
I don't know. Yeah. There's, I think there's and I'll have to get you this information, but isn't there you might even know about this, Christine, because you work for Babcock, but there's a meeting that they're having with all the independent HOAs to kind of like train them on, to get everybody together, like all the directors or whatever, to get together. I think it's on my calendar, so I'll have to find it and I'll let you guys know.
I RSVP'd as well.
You
Got
remember?
it on here. I think it's July. It's early July, I believe. Let me look. Out.
I haven't been drafted for that meeting yet.
Lucky you.
I think it is just.
General, that's all.
We'll tell you the day before.
I got a week's notice on Tampa General for 2 people, so I can.
So, it would be good to coordinate, like somebody from the duplex place towards National contacted me like a few months ago and they were looking for recommendations on everything. So I kind of put them in touch with these guys. I put them in touch with DT, so. But at the same time, if they go with someone else, we'll have their information that we can get from them and, see what they come up with. Maybe we'll have better luck. I don't think they probably have 200 units there, but they're duplexes, so it's probably about the same size as ours overall.
One more question. I noticed a number of for sale signs up in the neighborhood. People selling their homes. Any feedback on that? People,
I scratch my head and wonder, like, having gone through a move recently, like all the hassle and everything.
It's not just
Yeah, I know.
us,
I
it's all
I don't know. I know, all I can say about that is family situations change. I know somebody was divorced, they tried to put the house on the market, they couldn't sell it, and then she's back. Another person,
especially with all the building.
it's hard to sell now because, the builders have incentives on interest rates, whereas if you buy an existing home, you're gonna pay whatever the interest rate is, so you gotta undercut the prices for a new house.
I'm just curious.
that are buying new, selling where they're already living. So they're waiting.
I know, the house 2 doors from me on Calumet. He moved to the other coast. He was a single guy.
Right.
So he moved to the other coast because he said the women must be doing bad. And then the one across the street, there was an elderly lady and she was living with her daughter. And she's decided she's gonna stay with her.
Yeah.
So I mean, I know those 2 on Calumet were.
Yeah.
Just an observation.
Yeah.
I
no.
know.
It's a curious thing because, with all the rigmarole and moving and the expense of moving, you kind of wonder like, what the heck, but I've heard people like they had a job here and it was going great, then they got a job offer back at their home. So they were planning to move, then they couldn't sell the house and they're staying. So it's just all these little particular things that just pop up and everybody's got a different story. So I don't think it's anything like, oh, I gotta get out of Crescent Grove. It's like this place is a pariah or something. I don't think it's that.
With sinkholes and stuff like that.
No, I've heard all the horror stories about Lennar. I mean, Lennar's building is almost as bad, if not worse than Meritage, so I don't think it's that. So, but as far as this upcoming year, I think we're just gotta try and keep pushing to get these guys to do what they're obligated to do. And I think, we had meetings with them over the last couple of weeks and they're committed to trying to make us happy. So, they don't want to lose the job. I think we kind of put a little bit of fear into them with our most recent letter a couple of weeks ago where we listed all the things that were wrong. So I think they're kind of getting the message and they want to do a good job. So.
It's a little library.
I don't want to steal Brendan's thunder. but it is close. So I think we'll get an announcement in the next week or two.
We say for donate.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's on my list of things.
All right, I'm happy if we can donate. Yeah.
Yeah. I guess other things to possibly think about, and I can't speak for anybody except myself. One thing that a lot of people have expressed is that they don't like pine straw, they prefer mulch. So, and a lot of people have already switched to mulch. So mulch, the quote we got last year from Down to Earth was basically $26,000 every time they do the pine straw. If they do mulch, it's $40,000. So it's about $140 per lot more. So if we all want to switch to mulch, I'm good with that. But it's going to be like $140 increase on our HOA. Maybe down the road in another month or so, we'll do like a Facebook poll and we'll put it in the email and try and get some input on what people want to do on that.
You can do a special assessment if you don't want to put it on annually or something.
Yeah,
So it's like a one-time fee or whatever.
yeah. I mean, but we wind up doing it every year. You know what I mean? So it's,
So they only do it once a year. What do they say?
I think they did it when they first came on. So I think they did it in December, the pine straw.
Correct, yeah.
So,
Good, try and avoid like right before rainy season.
yeah.
It's
Like the
everything on my
stupid
list.
idiots over there, Trail's Edge.
Yeah. I mean,
Joe, wouldn't the mulch last, typically mulch will last longer than pine, or especially here, pine straw does, so.
that's what they say. I mean, but they do, I believe they do mulch twice a year at the locations in Babcock Ranch. I mean, they say it lasts longer, and maybe it does. I don't know how often they do it.
I think, I'm pretty sure they do. How they do.
Yeah, I mean, we could do pine straw twice a year too, if we would rather do that. It's just, that would, right now, the budget is for once a year for pine straw. So if we did pine straw twice a year, it would bring it up $260. If we did just the mulch once a year, it would go up by $140 a year. And maybe that would be enough. But I mean, driving through Trail's Edge when it rains, the mulch is everywhere, just like the pine straw.
But
So
you just put it down. That way, if you put that down in December, it is not gonna be that way in rainy season.
yeah.
It'll
Okay.
settle.
So that might be something, I can afford $140. Some people in the community are angry when they use water from the faucet. So because it's a couple gallons of water, I don't know. So people are at different levels in economics. So, that is something to consider and think about. There's something else. I don't know if you guys have any thoughts on that, but, I always kind of thought, and I think you may have expressed this as well, like the flowers that we have in the front entrance are kind of weak looking. Possibly putting some of those yellow flowers that seem to bloom all year or something else that looks a little nicer. Probably a one-time cost for that, might be worth doing something like that.
Even if you do something every year.
Right, yeah, just do a little bit, yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of barren looking there, so.
They just put more in Trail's Edge.
I know, I saw that.
Lots more.
Hmm.
Well,
That
I
was-
took out fern. I took out the fern.
Oh, is that what they
Right,
did?
yes.
Yeah, we got a bunch of dead ferns that, in our entrance that BT is gonna replace some of them because I've complained about them, like, why is this stuff dead? You guys are controlling the water, why aren't you putting more water? So they're gonna replace some of that stuff free. So that's always a good thing, anything you can get for free. But yeah, I mean, that's another thing. If people have thoughts about it, open to that. I think it might be nice to spruce up the entrance a little bit more. And then the only other thing is like what we did near Deborah and Kevin, they're at the epicenter of the flooding when the pine straw starts cutting loose. And mulch starts cutting loose, it goes to the drain right in front of their house and across the street. So what we had, kind of the thought process was we'd start right there at those drains that flood most frequently and put in golden creeper. The theory of the golden creeper is that it's kind of like those scouring pads, the steel wool kind of things, that it's porous, like water can go through it, but it'll catch stuff. If there's pine straw or there's mulch in somebody's yard, the water will go through that golden creeper when it fills in, but it will not allow the mulch and pine straw to go through. So it's kind of like a porous, but it'll catch some of the crap and prevent it from flooding. And it also grows in really thick. If you look at some of the verges where it's been there from day one, it's already kind of pretty thick. So the plan was to start at the area of the flooding and then kind of go out concentric circles around from that, to kind of try and reduce the amount of pine straw near where the flooding is occurring and put stuff in that will not break free and start more flooding. So that's the other thing. We spent $5,000 on that. I don't remember when it was done, like maybe January. So, and that was like, I don't remember how many, if it was 6 verges or 8 verges. I think it was 8, 2 and 2. 2 and 2 on one area and then 2 and 2 on another area.
Mhm.
So really like 8. So that would be another thing where we possibly do another 4 of those spots, like just moving out to the next concentric circle to try and again reduce that, because we did have some flooding a couple 3 weeks ago when we had that heavy rain. So it's still an issue. I mean, the only real solution I think is to put in another drain, but obviously we don't have a budget for that, and I don't think that's really our responsibility. I think that's kind of the owner of the street's responsibility, which would be Babcock. So, I guess we could, start lobbying Babcock to put in more drains. That's probably going nowhere, but,
Our insider over here.
yeah, Christine may know more. So
So the streets themselves are managed by Babcock.
I believe so. Yeah,
It's no responsibility.
I don't think so.
So the sewer should be.
Yeah,
You could ask them.
I mean, it can't hurt to send them a letter. I mean, we sent them an email when we first started, like a year ago, because there was flooding last summer, and we sent them an email, and that's how this whole thing about the golden creeper started, because Kitson was just like, all right, enough with the pine straw, enough with the mulch. It's clogging, so we're gonna try and find either rocks, or we're gonna do some kind of plant that would replace the mulch and pine straw. So they came up with this as the recommended thing, golden creeper, because comes in really thick and all the other stuff. You're not going to get weeds growing through it like some of the other stuff. And yeah, in the beginning.
Oh, yeah, I'm out there weeding. Yes, yes.
You could do a sit-in at the hatchery and wait till they pump up some money.
Sure.
So those plants aren't established enough to be effective.
No, they're not. I mean,
Right.
it's gonna take time. But the hope is that, I mean, if you look the stuff that's like we've been here less than 2 years, and some of the areas where that golden creeper was there from the beginning, it's pretty thick. So if we give it, by this time next year, hopefully it'll be in nice and thick and can be like a filter as the water comes in. But those are the kind of things kind of up in the air for me in terms of possible issues. But, if anyone has other things, certainly just send us an email, mention it on Facebook. I try not to get into debates with people on Facebook, because it's just like a losing thing. That's why we have meetings. If you can't make the meeting, they're usually, they're on the computer, but you can also email Brian, or there's a form that can be filled out to submit comments or questions, whatever. Or you can just email Brian and say, this is an issue. Can you get an answer to this for me at the next meeting. We'll do it, we'll deal with it, but we try and confine our HOA time to like carved out times just so we can focus on our other stuff, you know? So, all right, well, do we have to do a motion to adjourn the
You
informal?
do not need to
Okay.
adjourn the informal meeting. People can just get up and walk out. It'd be nice to say goodbye first, but it's awesome.
Thank you for your.
Thank you.